Hello everyone, welcome to Level Change channel. My name is Claudio Fonseca. I'm a real world pilot, and today we are going to talk once again about RNAV approaches. Okay, this type of approaches that you do using your VNAV. Okay, so instead of arming the approach for an ILS approach, you are going to use LNAV and VNAV for this approach. We are here today approaching Brindisi in Italy. I choose this airport because it's right on the minimus for the RNAV approach for the airplane category C, which we have here, the 737-800. Okay, so we go inside the plane and I'm going to show you the procedure that we are going to shoot. Okay, first I want you to understand this procedure. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in like this. Oh, that was too much. Okay, zoom in like this, and now we have here Brindisi, Italy, RNP runway 31. Okay, so this chart was supposed to be done, was actually done 1st October 21st, 2021, and it was going to be effective on the 7th of October same year. Okay, so we are in Brindisi. The airport name is Casale. Okay, so we have the frequencies here for the 80s radar, which is the approach and the tower. And we also have the frequency here for our, as you can see down here, LPV Cat 1. Okay, 737 usually is not certified for this type of approach. Here on the flight simulator you cannot even set this channel 99804. This information is not available for our radios. And this is the GPS based on, actually not the GPS, is the GNS by the European agency, which is the EGNOS. Okay, so EGNOS is the name of the European GPS. And here you can see final approach course 313 Bravo Romeo 513 2500, which is 2476 feet above the terrain. This is so basically when we cross Bravo Romeo 513, we have an elevation for the terrain of 24 feet. So then you have minimums. We are going to refer to the minimums later on. And the airport, 50 feet. The highest point on runway touchdown for runway 31 is 24 feet. Missed approach all around the airport is 3,000 feet, and missed approach we climb straight ahead 313 to 2,500, and we enter Bravo Romeo 513 to holding. There is a note here that there are different missed approach climb gradients, and we are going to check that in a minute. As you can see on the chart, we are now flying direct to Bravo Romeo 502, maximum speed of 200 knots. Okay, as well, yeah, that's what we have now, maximum speed of 200 knots. And then 223 inbound for 4 miles towards Noglu. Noglu, here we have maximum 200 knots if you are coming from Bravo Romeo 502, that we are. 3,500 feet is the altitude. Then we go for 3 miles to Bravo Romeo 503, minimum altitude there 2,500. Bravo 513, another 2.1 miles, minimum altitude, and altitude for the final approach fix 2,500 feet or above. Then you continue going down when you are 5.7 miles to the threshold runway 31. That is an altitude for LNAV only. Otherwise you continue going on the glide path 3 degree to cross runway 31 at a threshold crossing height of 49 feet, so basically 50 feet plus the 24 feet for the runway elevation on the touchdown zone. You are going to cross threshold basically at 73 feet altimeter. Okay, in case of missed approach, on this approach we have high intensity ILS, we have PAPI on both sides. Most probably you're not going to see this on your Microsoft Flight Simulator. Very short explanation of the missed approach. Straight ahead 2500 on the course 313. So what is our minimums for today? So as this airplane is not capable of doing LPV approaches, we need to do only LNAV and VNAV. We are category C. 420 feet is our minimus, which is already set. We need visibility of 1100 meters. If the ILS is not working, 1800. So we have visibility in between 1100 and 1800. If the ILS is working on the Microsoft Flight Simulator, we will be able to see this runway. Okay, so this is the chart, and basically everything that you saw here is also on your FMC. So on the route you can see that we have RNAV runway 31, approach transition from Bravo Romeo 502. So you have then 502, 200 knots. So this is 200 knots or below is a maximum speed. So we can even set this to below. Is the same for the next one is 200 or below. We can execute this, and Noglu, as we noticed, 3,500 feet or above. Then 3 miles on the course 313, 2,500 to cross Bravo Romeo 503. Then another 2.1 miles, Bravo Romeo 513, 2,500. And then 7.7 miles to runway 31, crossing there it says at 96 feet. This 96 feet is slightly off from the chart here, which basically says that it's supposed to be 24 plus 49 is supposed to be 73. So I'm not sure if PMDG allows me to change this. Yeah, we cannot change this altitude. This was supposed to be coded by the FMC correctly by the supplier. But anyway, we may cross this runway threshold a little bit high. Like 20 feet high is not a big deal. Case of missed approach, we climb straight ahead, Bravo Romeo 513, 2,500 at least. Okay, so you need to make sure you have everything on your FMS. The next thing, if you really want, you can change this to plan, even go to the minimum zoom here, and then go step by step, so you can check all the airports, sorry, all the points around your approach and missed approach. Okay, so everything is set, you have the correct one. It's very important that you check your FMC for RNAV approaches, because as you are going to be using VNAV and LNAV, the airplane is going to follow what is in your FMC. So preparation for this approach, very important to have your FMC checked. As you know, we are going to land minimums of 420 is already set, and our flaps today, flaps 30 for approach, VREF 137. We are already set 1005, so we just need to complete this approach and do the landing checklist. Okay, so I'm going to release the airplane really soon, but basically what I have to do, I have to go back to this path. Okay, so I need to go down 1,000 feet by now. I need to follow my lateral navigation. This one I can already select. So as you can see now, LNAV is selected. The airplane is going to follow the lateral navigation, and I'm going to engage VNAV as well. Okay, so as I engage VNAV, the airplane is going to follow everything that is on the FMC, and I need to comply with the altitude restrictions. So the next altitude that I have is 3,500 here. So I am clear for the approach. I can set 3,500, and I'm going to use VNAV. So far, because I am high, VNAV is going to engage in VNAV speed, and eventually is going to engage in VNAV path. When I'm approaching Noglu, I will set the next altitude, 2,500. When I'm approaching Bravo Romeo 513, I'm going to set my minimus, 420, in this case 500. And then when I'm on the final descending towards the runway, I can set my missed approach altitude of 2500. This altitude need to be set at least 300 feet below missed approach altitude, so not below 2200 feet. It's always like this in the Boeing. Okay, so now I'm going to release this airplane, so you will see that the airplane will keep flying from now on. Okay, so now, yeah, the airplane is it flying? Now it is. So VNAV path, the airplane is flying. I am going to... Why the airplane is not flying? Okay, I'm sorry, it was not flying, now it is. So I'm going to remove my webcam from here, and you are going to hear the airplane itself from now on. Okay, so we are on VNAV path, descending. The speed is reducing towards 200 knots. And we don't have to do anything else apart from setting flaps and altitude. So we are approaching flap up speed. We can set flaps 1. FMC speed, airplane reduces automatically to flap 1 speed. And here we go, we continue this approach. As we are about to turn inbound the final, I would always recommend you to do it if there is no speed restriction, to do it with flaps 5. So we select flaps 5 now. As you can see, the airplane reduces automatically now to flap 5 speed, because it's following the speeds on the FMC, and the FMC, when you are extending the flaps, it follows the flap speed. So now the airplane is turning to the final. We are going to follow with our heading 313. So we are reaching 3,500. Next altitude is 2,500. We already select now 2,500. And here we go. Continue the descent. Please remember, you need to keep VNAV and LNAV. You will need to see VNAV path. So if you are getting close to the approach, make sure you are on the path. If you are below, no problem. The airplane is going to level off, and when it captures the VNAV, is going to descend. If you are high, you need to use your speed brake, gear, flaps, every device that you have available to bring the airplane back down to the path, and then the airplane is following the path. Okay, so we are going to cross this 2,500 or above, which is the case. I can already set landing gear down, flaps to 15, arm the speed brake, and also set my engine start switch to continuous, which is there. Note, airplane reduces to flap 15 as we have FMC speed. We are approaching the point of 2,500. There is no point anymore apart from the runway, so we select our minimas. In this case, 420. I don't have 420, so I set 500. Okay, so we are going to cross the final approach fix at 2,500. This is very important that we cross this at 2,500 feet. And as we are approaching the final fix, Boeing recommends you to select your landing flaps, which in this case is flaps 30. Okay, so flaps 30 is selected. Speed is reduced to flap 30 VREF plus 5. Okay, and we are descending. Landing checklist says that we need engine start switch in continuous, speed brake armed, landing gear down, flaps 30 green light. Landing checklist is complete. Our missed approach altitude is 2,500. So when we are 300 feet below this altitude, anytime you are 300 feet below the missed approach altitude, okay, in this case 2,200. So when you are in this approach, specifically 2,200 feet or below, okay, you can select your missed approach altitude, which is in this case is going to be 2000. Sorry, I made a mistake on selecting, so I need to go and press altitude intervention for the airplane to keep going down on VNAV. Okay, VNAV path. My mistake here when selecting, but don't worry, the airplane is going back to the path. Okay, VNAV path. So remember, what was the problem? Because I select my altitude to my current altitude, then the airplane stopped descending. Okay, so you needed to set it above, so you want to see 2500 here. Now you can see the airplane keeps going down. Okay, so my mistake, and if this happens, you have to revert back to VNAV. If VNAV still engaged, you press altitude intervention and the airplane goes down. Okay, so now everything is set. I'm just going to get a little bit closer on the profile here on the camera to make this landing, and we are waiting to see the runway. Basically, we need to see approach lights in front of us. Slightly to the left, we have wind coming from the right.
1000.
Okay, now it's 1000. We are fully stable and configure. And now I see the runway. I see the approach lights. So here we are. I'm going to disengage auto throttle. Going to maintain the speed, control the speed on my own. I'm going to disengage autopilot, and I'm going to follow the flight directors all the way to the runway. Okay, you can fly visually if you have visual, but remember, you can always follow your flight director on RNAV approaches that you have the runway there. Okay, so if you have the runway on your FMC, there is a path to that runway, you can keep using that path. Okay, on the flight simulator itself, the runway may be slightly not aligned because of the scenery itself. Okay, but you can keep flying flight directors until you are really close to the runway. Okay, and here we are. Okay, so I am following now visually. I'm going to complete my landing, and there we go.
50, 30, 20, 10.
Idle reverse is enough for this runway. I'm going to stop on the runway. Going to keep using now, no reverse anymore. I'm taking the speed brake lever down so the auto brake disarm, and we are almost stopped on the runway. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video once again about RNAV approaches on the 737. It's never enough for me to tell you that usually on RNAV approaches, RNP, RNAV approaches itself, or even if you are doing NDBs, VOR approaches, or localizer approaches using the VNAV, what you have to keep is the VNAV engaged. Okay, on the 737, as you extend the flaps, the speed drops to the flap speed, so you don't have to worry about the speed. Just keep your profile. If you are high, use your speed brake. If you are low, the airplane itself is going to add thrust to capture your path and maintain the speed. And you need to be selecting all the altitudes as you are going through. Okay, so then you make sure the airplane does not go below the minimum altitudes, the minimum safe altitudes for the procedure, and you also guarantee that the airplane is following the path as you are going down. Okay, so check your FMC, make sure everything you see on the chart, all those points, all those distance, tracks, altitudes, speeds are there, and then you just have to look to your legs page and select the altitudes as you go through your legs page. When you do not have any altitude to select anymore, you select your minimas, and then this is the most important part. When you are 300 feet below missed approach altitude, you can change your altitude on the autopilot to the missed approach altitude. So you are telling the airplane, okay, I know you are descending in path and I'm selecting an altitude above you, so I want you to keep going down because this altitude is my missed approach altitude. Okay, if you do a mistake that usually happens on the sim, just like I did on this one, by chance I selected my current altitude on the autopilot, then the airplane is thinking, no, he's not selecting an altitude above, this is not the missed approach altitude, he's selecting the current altitude, so he wants me to stop here. So the airplanes level off. Okay, when airplane levels off, some airplanes, they will engage hold mode, and then if this happens, you have to select lower altitude, engage VNAV again. If you do not have this change to hold, if you have something like VNAV out, then the VNAV is still there, and then what you have to do, reselect the altitude down again, and instead of reselecting VNAV, because VNAV is still selected, you have to press altitude intervention for the airplane to resume the VNAV path. Okay, and then once again trying to select your missed approach altitude. Okay, so do not stop your altitude selection close to your altitude, otherwise the airplane can stop descending. Okay, so this happens, and it happened to me while I was explaining the procedure to you, and I think it was at least good enough for you to realize that you can still go down and capture this path again. Remember, select lower altitude and engage the VNAV mode in the VNAV path. Okay, and that's it. Thank you so much. I hope you like this video, and I hope you will be able to shoot VNAV approaches being RNAV, RNP, VOR, NDBs or ILS approaches on the 737NG. See you guys. Bye bye.